started. Looks like commissioners are making their way. I don't know how I got this high chair, but,
That was Chris Becker yesterday.
oh, Chris Becker, prosecutor. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Kent County Board of Commissioners meeting for September 9th. We're going to call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Good morning. Commissioners Wooden. Here. Womack.
Here.
Teal. Here. Vice Chair Steck.
Here.
Commissioner Sparks. Skaggs.
Here.
Ponstein.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
McLeod. Here. LeGrand. Here. Coleman.
Here.
Jones. Here. Hennessy.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Burrell.
Here.
Bulkowski.
Present.
Breevy.
Here.
Antor. Chair Bolter.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 17 members present, 2 members absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are on to item 3, invocation. I'll call on Commissioner Green.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we gather here today to do your work, to serve our community and our county in the best way that we know possible. We hope and pray that you will give us the guidance that we need and the wisdom that we need to make decisions and implement policies in the best interest of all county residents. We understand that everything that we do in life ought to be to give you greater glory and to serve you, and we pray that you will grant us the wisdom and guidance to do that this morning. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Green. This morning, I get to call up our County Treasurer, Peter McGregor, for our annual investment report. Good morning.
Good morning.
Always good to see, Madam Chair, it's always good to see smiling faces back at you. Thank you again for the opportunity to present the county's investment report. Normally, this report is given in the first quarter with year-ending figures. But due to the pandemic and some other circumstances and being new to the position and getting bumped a few times because of more important items on the agenda, the figures that I'm going to be presenting today are from June 30th of this year. Hopefully, I can get through this in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then answer any questions that the commissioners may have. So with me, I also have my Chief Deputy, Steve Orchard, and my Financial Supervisor, Jennifer Slustack. They're both here with me, and they're much more experienced, have a whole lot more knowledge, and are familiar with this whole process and the Treasury Department. And so they've been awesome employees and assets to this county. One for almost 24 years and the other one for a little over 10 years. So I am blessed to have them standing behind me. The state statute dictates that the treasurer follow when investing our public funds, Public Act 20 of 1943 as amended. The statute also requires a written investment policy, which is adopted by this board. It was Resolution 626-9789, which was adopted by the commissioners in June 26 of 1997, and I think the only one here was probably Commissioner Morgan back then. And this policy applies to all the investments, excluding the investments for the employees' retirement fund. So, again, the primary objective, and you can see it up on the board. I guess I will make the next slide go. is, and many of you have seen this slide principle. This is basically the principal objective in order of priority. All investment activities are safety, liquid, and yield, or the acronym SLI. Safety is of the principle is the foremost objective to any investment policy, and it's the treasurer's number one duty to safeguard those public funds. So the safety, liquidity, and the yield are all structured such that the investment portfolio matures as we meet the requirements or need the requirements, the cash requirements for ongoing operations. So that liquidity is just as important. Return on investment or the yield is secondary compared to that safety and that liquidity. So why don't we get into these slides real quick. Next slide. Hopefully you have it in front of you because it's very tiny and it's hard to see. But this first slide is the basis of what we're talking about here, and this is the county investments as of June 30th. And it's broken out by type and investment, so that the top part you can see has the government securities. These are the Freddie Mac, the First Federal Community Bank, First Home Loan Bank, Fannie Mae. Pretty basic information. This is the government security portion, and it's about where it is, $53 million. The second part are the pooled funds. You can see those are the pooled funds that we pool with all the different authorities within Kent County, all the different local municipalities within Kent County, excluding maybe like City of Grand Rapids in Wyoming, but all the smaller cities, schools, airport authority, CAA, and other areas, that's where we're pulling our funds. You can see that we bank with almost every bank here within Kent County. There's 23 banks, one credit union. You can see down, I don't know, about 5 or 6 banks down, Comerica, or PNC Bank, I should say. There's a zero amount there because it was getting too expensive to invest in PNC. The fees were higher than the rate of return on some of these banks. But we have banked with Comerica before. Some of these, that middle row that has the 5s and the stars, those are the Bauer ratings. That's basically tells you how strong the bank is. 5 is the highest strength, 5 is superior, 4 is excellent, even 3 is a good bank to be with. But you can see most of the banks that we do business with are a 5-star bank. TFC recently, or within the last couple of years, had bought out Chemical, and then Huntington merged with TFC, so there's a lot of transition going in there. But basically you can see that we try and spread the wealth throughout the revenues throughout the whole county with all the different banks. Next slide. Basic Bauer Financial Bank star rating. You'd see the majority of the banks that we work with are 5-star. We have a few 4 stars. I think we have 1.1 at 3.5. Next slide is kind of the I shouldn't say scary, but let's see if is the slide that shows our county's interest income through June 2021. So the interest income is not too favorable. It's nothing to write home about. And to give you a little reference, last time that Ken Parrish was here in February of 2020, the interest for the general fund was about a little over 2.1 million. And the interest over the total pool fund was 8.5 million. And so you could see that the interest income is quite low. It's just, there's so much cash out there. Banks aren't willing to give you the higher interest rates. I mean, a couple basis points at most is the best. I think our average interest rate over the year with longer terms is probably 0.38%, but it's not good at this point right now. So let's see, let's move into, this is kind of that same, it's kind of more colorful graph, kind of shows you where the majority of our funds are. You can see a lot of it is going to be in our pooled funds. It probably has our top 5 or 10 banks that we work with, a lot of smaller banks that we're willing to do business with. But this kind of gives you an idea of where the money is spread out. We try not to be, well, it's kind of a rule within the treasurer's office is not to have more than 1% of any one bank's assets in their bank. This is not normally, probably not in most of the investment issues, but I thought it's worth taking a look at and sharing with you. These are the cash balances as of 6/30. This kind of falls more into Jeff's territory, but I thought it was worth noting where the monies are as of 6 months into the year. The two notable areas are going to be your solid waste, has the biggest fund, and then you see the account 274, which is the Corona's relief fund. A little over 66 million in it, and that's only the first half of the funds that are coming in. Next slide's a little bit harder to see. It's really, really small, but it's the same slide just put into the pie format, and it gives you a better visual of where the majority of our funds are. DPW, general fund, local investments, and you see a big slice of that coronavirus relief fund there on the left at 15%. And I told you I'd keep it down to 5 to 8 minutes, and hopefully I hit that goal. And
job.
I am willing to answer any questions. I'm also willing to, meet with anybody. Again, I know during Zoom calls with y'all or on different calls, be happy to have a cup of coffee with you, come into my office. If I may not have the answer, I have a few people behind me that can help us out with getting those answers for you, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning and welcome, Peter. Welcome to the job as well. I think this is your first presentation as our treasurer. So a couple of questions I had in following up. I know that you've identified all of the banks. In fact, I think most, if not all of the banks that are operating in Kent County have some deposits there, but only one credit union. And I think I recall some explanation why we don't place funds into a credit union, but again, why don't we use credit unions? Well, you have one of them in here, but generally, why don't you use credit unions?
Yeah, I just don't think it's their wheelhouse on there, but, Steve would probably be able to answer that question a little bit better than myself.
Morning. We'll invest with almost anybody as long as they.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
We will invest with anyone who comes into our office and has a viable bank and is a sound bank, but we prefer that they come in and meet us and talk to us, and they have to request funds as opposed to us shopping around. The structure that you see with the banking profile has pretty much been in place for many years. But we're certainly welcome to any banks coming in and visiting with us and talking to us.
So it's not that you're not willing to do credit unions. Credit unions generally aren't asking for the deposits.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, okay. So the other comment, again, you mentioned the rate of return. I did a quick check on it, and you're right. If my broker did that, I'd fire him. But as I understand, there are limited options you have for where you can place these funds. And so that's really what restricts you to putting the money into primarily banks.
Yeah, it's PA 20. It's state statute says you have to work within this box. And it's all about safety. It really is, because this isn't my money. This is the people's money. This is the county's, people in the county, it's their money. So safety is number one priority, bar nothing else.
And then the follow-up is, can you negotiate a better rate of return if you bundle these funds with fewer banks, let's say 4 or 5, where they have much larger
There's so much
deposits?
cash out there, I don't know if the banks would do that. We do business, a lot of business, the county business is with Huntington, and they work well with us, structuring so our fees don't outweigh, the cost of doing business with that bank. So a lot of banks will do that with you, but there's so much cash out there. it's so difficult. Banks aren't looking for more cash. They're looking for people to use the cash, so.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Bulkowski.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Treasurer. Since a year ago our roles were reversed, I'm compelled to ask you some questions and keep you on the hot seat a little bit. With the sheet that has our investments, the $450 million, compared to the cash balance of $442 million, are those two separate pots of money, or are they, like, some of that cash balances, are they invested in those money markets and such?
Actually, they do tie out, but we have to go through a reconciliation process that includes our so-called cash sheet, their bank balances, but they do tie out when we do that reconciliation.
So there is overlap in these two pots, or two
Actually,
pages?
the cash balances that you're seeing from the pool and from the investments are almost identical numbers, but we do tie them out at year end when we do
Okay.
the reconciliation for the auditors.
All right, cool. And a question that I asked our previous treasurer a number of times is, no matter where the rate is, in the sense of the rate of return, if it's low or it's high, whatever we pay for in bonds is going to be a point or two higher, right? So for example, the airport's coming, finance we approved, it'll be to us, I think, at our next meeting. We're going to borrow some money so that, can we borrow from ourselves? Because between what we get and what we pay, if we split the difference, wouldn't we save or get in? And again, 0.5% isn't a lot of money unless you're borrowing $110 million.
Yeah, I wish there was an easy way to answer that question, because there's, every bond and every time we put in, a CD, they all have different time limits, and they're all coming mature at different times, and they're at different rates. And so this is probably a question that we could probably get really deep on, but I'd also not only need my team, I'd need the finance team to help you out to figure out exactly where do those lines cross. And someone like Steve or Marvin can probably come up with that line and answer that question a whole lot better than myself.
All right, thank you so much.
Well, let's get together
Yeah,
and
well,
do
let's,
that.
absolutely.
I know you've
Absolutely.
come to visit my office once or twice, so
All
you
right.
know where I am.
Absolutely. So again, it would be a great opportunity
Yes,
for the community.
I think it would be.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. So with all of some of the funds in these investments that are probably less liquid than the money in the bank, and then the funds that are, allocated by, statute or whatever, DPW, et cetera, like, what's the balance of like cash that's there if there's a disruption to like incoming, taxes or anything? How many months of cash do we have to kind of operate the county that's in these pools?
I think there's someone else in this room that probably can answer that question better than myself. So I'm going to leave that up to either our finance director to be able to answer that question. The treasurer's office is accounts receivable and investments. So that whole cash balance is something that our finance department would probably answer that question a whole lot better than the treasury.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions for the treasurer today? Commissioner Morgan.
Morning.
Thank you. Couple of comments. You're in an environment, you really can't control the return on investment from banks, right? So,
Correct.
I mean, you're not in charge of the banking system. And everybody knows that has a savings account or a checking account, the interest is way down. So we're not going to, be too hard on you on this, because what I look at is basically there's $450 million in this pool. And I think that's been pretty steady over the years. A little higher than some years.
Yeah, it's been very steady. If you look at the past 2 or 3 reports that I've reviewed from our previous treasurer, it's pretty identical, other than the coronavirus fund
Right. So
dollars.
looking at the big picture of this, the fund has stayed pretty stable.
Yes.
The amount of folks investing in it and stuff like that, which is probably more important to me. If we had folks, trying to go to other investment strategies and stuff, that would concern me.
And
So-
that's the consistency that our rating agencies like. That getting that AAA bond rating, we had our first meetings with them, or I had my first meetings with them this last April, and a few of us, the chair was in there and others. It's all about consistency, and they look at Kent County as the benchmark for everybody else. You stay consistent. Doesn't mean we're not gonna change with the times, and we will change when we need to, but just for me to come in and start doing things different, that's not the way that this should be handled. So you're right, that consistency is so important.
That wasn't that painful, was it?
There's a lot of anxiety because people that I'm looking at right now told me not to mess this up.
So, well, I'm one of them, but anyway, thanks. And I just wanted to point out the bigger picture of this. Everybody likes to get lost in the detail, and I like to stay more at like 10,000 feet, so.
And again, we have a wonderful staff here in Kent County, the finance department and the treasurer's office. They're amazing people with a wealth of knowledge.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. We are on to our first section of public comment. This is related to agenda items only. So, do we have anyone here to speak to an agenda item? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to item 7, consent agenda. And I'll call on Commissioner Green for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the consent agenda for today's date.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Green, support by Commissioner Jones. Questions or comments on the consent agenda? Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. Just for transparency, I am disclosing that my firm and I do represent Consumers Energy on land acquisitions, not on this particular project, so I do not believe that I'm conflicted out, but just to disclose.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Teal, Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioners Sparks, Skaggs,
Yes.
Ponstein, Morgan,
Yes.
McLeod, LeGrand,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Burl,
Yes.
Bulkowski, Breivy,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are on to item 8, resolutions, and I'll call on Commissioner Morgan for the first
Thank you,
motion.
Madam Chair. This resolution comes from the Administrator's Office. It's the 2021 and 22 fiscal year budget appropriation.
Moved by Commissioner Morgan, support by Commissioner Bulkowski. Questions or comments on Resolution 85? Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. Just one quick one. The fund program group that has Mental Health Crisis Center at 200,000, am I correct? And I don't know, there's, Jeff or somebody has the answer to this. Is this just a reallocation of previously allocated crisis stabilization funds?
Someone from Fiscal Services to help us out there. Good morning.
The Mental Health Crisis Center, there is the continuation of the consultant who's helping with the management of that.
TDA.
For the recommendation.
Yeah.
So we had that in fiscal year '21, and we're continuing that in fiscal year '22.
So it's really not new money, it's just continuing what we'd already committed
Correct.
to.
And
Yeah.
that money is related to the partners contributing to the cost of that. So that is what that's from.
That's our share of that contribution.
That's the total share
Oh, it's
of
the
all
total?
partners.
Okay.
Correct.
Any other
Thank you.
questions on Resolution 85? Commissioner Coleman.
Just a quick comment, Chair. Thank you. With members of the public here that maybe have not been to a meeting like this before, I just want to let everybody know kind of the process, we have, a couple subcommittees, one of which is the Finance Physical Resources Committee, which looks at these, things in detail before they get here. So just so
Right.
everybody's seen
Yeah,
this process
we're all
before,
good. Yeah.
that's how this
Right.
works.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Ponstein?
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I understand that this is the October budget, but with the constant changing of our meetings and canceling of meetings, what is the schedule for the full budget that'll be coming in a couple months?
Same.
Yeah, it's the same schedule, same budget calendar. I think it was November 4th for the adoption of the fiscal year, January 1 fiscal year budgets. Give me a thumbs up or down back there. Pardon? Oh, come on up to the podium a second, yeah. 4th is a public hearing, 18th is budget adoption for the January 1 fiscal year.
Correct.
All right,
And then we'll be having meetings later in the month, I think starting on the 21st
right.
of this month.
So we really adopt the budget in two pieces. October 1st is that fiscal year, and then January 1st. That's how we do it now.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 85, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Womack, Teal, Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioners Sparks, Skaggs,
Yes.
Constein,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
McLeod, LeGrand, Coleman, Jones,
Yes.
Hennessy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Burl, Bulkowski, Breavy,
Yes.
Antor, Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 18 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 85 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are on to item 9 of our agenda today, public comment related to any general county matter. So I want to welcome members of the public here today. I think you know the process. You were asked to take a number and fill out a card, so we will go in that order. We are going to stay to our 2-minute limit to allow everybody to speak. And you can also submit public comment to publiccomment@kentcountymi.gov for those of you who aren't here today or who may be listening virtually. So with that, Madam Clerk, are you going to call up the number? Is it just calling up?
I can do that,
Number
Madam
one.
Chair. We have number 1, Amy Kaiser. She does have handouts. That is what's going around
Okay,
to
perfect.
each
Thank you.
commissioner.
Welcome, Amy. You have 2 minutes.
Kaiser, and I'm a registered nurse, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And I just wanted to come today to make sure that you're aware of the censorship of information that is taking place in our country. Any scientist or doctor who does not fall into lockstep with the government's narrative about COVID is censored, and this should be very frightening to all of us. This is reminiscent of Nazi Germany, and this is what happens in communist countries, and it is happening in our country today. And consequently, freedom of speech and freedom of the press are being restricted. One of the handouts that I prepared is information regarding the last meeting about masks and how they are not effective and how they are harmful physically and psychologically to children. But even more importantly is a handout that I prepared with information about the vaccines. And we are already hearing mask and vaccine mandates being coupled together, and Dr. Fauci talking about vaccine mandates for our children. I'm asking you, I am pleading with you to look at this information. One of these doctors, I watched his video, Dr. Cole, he released a video, a 30-minute interview about 2 weeks ago. After getting 800,000 views on YouTube, it was taken down, it was deleted, and it has vital information about how damaging these vaccines are to immune system, to fertility. He says no children should have them. Dr. Yeadon says that children are 50 times more likely to die from the vaccine than from the virus itself, and all these doctors have been kicked off of mainstream social media. On the back of each of the handouts on the vaccine, I jotted duckduckgo.com and rumble.com. This is a search engine and a video platform in which information is not censored, and I'm asking you to please look at these articles, scan the QR codes, And please, for the sake
Thank you.
of your constituents, be informed on the dangers and the risks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Nick Prill.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, I would like to request my 3 minutes per your standing rules that are published.
We're going to do 2 minutes today.
All right, then I would appreciate my time be reset.
Okay, great, thank
So
you.
I appreciate your time this morning. I addressed you guys a couple weeks ago at the work session, and, you know, I really want to talk about accountability and transparency. You know, the Adam London was caught lying to this board 2 weeks ago. We don't understand anything that's been addressed from that. Adam London was insubordinate in the fact that he left the meeting where he was asked to be there by his board of directors. And there seems to be no accountability here. This statement that went out yesterday from Kent County, I understand several of you have said in public forums, you don't even know where this statement was published from or who it was published by. So I'm going to ask, where is the people's response from this board on all of the concerns that were addressed in that meeting? Or was it just a dog and pony show to try and appease the county? I understand it was published by the Kent County Health Department on their Facebook page. So is this yet another dictatorial statement by Adam London? Or is this the board's response? Also, in the frequently asked questions, we have a question that is answered on the restraint in the public school code. Who from the judicial branch has reviewed that and provided that opinion? There's absolutely zero case precedence in the state of Michigan on that. So we have separations of power in our government. The power comes from the people. We are here to hold you accountable. We're asking for transparency and accountability. And it starts with you. We entrust you with that power. You take an oath to the Constitution. It seems several of you don't even know what the Constitution is. So I'm going to tell you, after I leave this meeting, I'm heading down to the clerk's office. I'm getting recall petitions, and there are several of you on this board, including you, Mr. Skaggs, who decided to publicly defame people on Twitter, during the meeting as opposed to paying attention to the constituents who elected you for this position.
Thank you, Nick.
You will all be held accountable.
Thank you, Nick.
Next up, we have Elizabeth Johnson from Cedar Springs.
Good morning.
Hi. I'm an exhausted mom. I have been to so many board meetings. I've been to so many of these meetings, and you don't listen to us. Your powerlessness has left us with desperate situations. You have moms pulling their kids out because we cannot get a free and appropriate public education for our kids. You left us to not comply. I need to remind this board that the government only has power by the consent of the governed. Yes. I'm exhausted because you're not doing your job. I have questions for this board. How is it that one man can bully our children like this? You heard all of the testimony of these parents and what these masks mandates have done to our kids. And yet it falls on deaf ears. How is it that this one man can't be fired? Who hired him? That's right. Why can't he be fired? And if you say, well, if we fire him, the mandate's still, you know what? It's going to make a statement, isn't it? Absolutely. We are tired of this. You've left me with no choice. Us parents have lost faith in this board. Do your job. Put pressure. Who fires him? Who hires this guy? How is it that he can be, is he a king? How does one man have this much power and control over so many kids? How many people attended the MSU football game? How many? But yet he can go after our kids. And the reason he can go after our kids is because they're in the public school system.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Next up, we have Betsy Melton from Kent County.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Don't put me on, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and welcome our new administrator. Sorry, our gain is Ottawa County's loss. During my tenure on the Board of County Commissioners, I had the privilege to also serve on the board for the County Health Department. Dr. Adam London and his team consistently presented relative and necessary information pertinent to the health challenges and needs of this very community. Our commissioners recognized Dr. London's expertise, skill, and dedication. We found value in his knowledge and background education and his work ethics. Under Dr. London's guidance and the commitment of his team, Kent County has been one of the strongest communities in our state while battling the pandemic. Our health department has collaborated with our hospitals, community leaders, churches, and hotels, securing housing for our most vulnerable population early in the pandemic. They reached thousands of people weekly with their COVID update videos. Dr. London was factual and informative. As commissioners, we relied on him for our own information. Oh, am I not up there? Sorry. These persons on the board, on the health department, have studied and researched health trends and community strengths and weaknesses as they relate to the physical, emotional, and mental health of people in Kent County. They constantly analyze and compare diseases, trends, and transmissions. Then they act on those studies with action and recommendations. They do not make their decisions based on politics. They do not make their decisions based on what's popular. They make their decisions based on the data and the trends that they have studied tirelessly. Yet it seems
Thank you,
that
Commissioner. Sorry, keeping everybody to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dane Gates from Grand Rapids.
Dane, did you say? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dane Gates. I reside in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm here today because my passion is affordable housing, and I'm very, very concerned and hope that you're aware that there is a housing crisis. And I'm here today to inquire of this body if the emergency rental assistance that has been made available in this country, if it is a priority, and if there is a plan to perhaps work also with the city of Grand Rapids in an effort to mitigate the potential outfall of the lack of the CDC moratorium and make a sincere effort to dispense the funds quickly. And I would appreciate guidance as to someone who could help me with that, because it's something that it would be helpful to me and I would need to know. And I've also inquired of this body. I'm pretty persistent and about the fact if you pay for parking for people that come to your meeting. And I would like if you don't, it's okay. I would just like for you to explain to me why or why not. And also in America, we live in a democracy. And I agree these times are challenging. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. They are unprecedented. I believe it's time for all people to step up, all Americans, and I would encourage you to do your job. Thank you.
Great. Next up.
Thank you. Next up, we have Angela Regis from Caledonia.
Morning, Angela.
Good morning. We were here a month ago, and we spoke to you guys openly and aired our grievances and shared our heart-wrenching stories of our children and what they've had to endure under the unelected, untouchable tyrant that is Adam London. And I want to call a certain member out right now, Phil Skaggs. Excuse me. Okay, well, that's just why I want to call him out right now, because during our comments, our public comments, we heard stories such as children, a girl, wrapping a cord around her neck because she could no longer stand to go to school under the current mandates. Your responsibility to us at that moment was to listen to us. And instead, Commissioner Skaggs, you remained on your phone, you remained on Twitter. Instead of listening to our stories, as that was your duty at that moment, you chose to post on Twitter. You were slandering us on Twitter, calling us names, calling me names. I stood before you as a mother, not a so-called insurrectionist, as you've called me. Not as a state house candidate, but as a mom of 4 boys who has tried to maneuver through this system with 2 children that cannot tolerate a mask medically. Now, they're exempt, and I'm thankful for that I won that fight. However, there's many kids in this district that were not so lucky, and you were blatantly disrespectful to us at that meeting. You owe us an apology. You don't deserve to sit in this chair, and I hope that you're thrown out of office. Actually, I would call you to resign. Your behavior was disgusting. I mean, you could, it looks like you're laughing. I can't tell because you have that big mask on your face. But we're just really disappointed. So, there.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have John Rocca from Caledonia. Did I pronounce that correctly? Rocha. My apologies.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you very much. Leadership's hard. It's tough. Sometimes we have to make decisions that aren't exactly in public favor, and we have to do those choices that are best for the community. And we have a board member in Philip Skaggs who, just for the record, it's JONROCHA, so when that's on Twitter later, you can find me. And you go ahead and put that on there. I ask that someone has the gumption, the strength, the courage to call a motion to ask for his censorship or his resignation today. Look at the guy. This is a gentleman who does not have the interests of the people, but his own is at heart. And you guys have been well aware of his actions on Twitter. Look at this guy. And regardless if you agree with him or not, it is behavior unbecoming of an elected official. And that is something we cannot have in a public forum, period. We try to use decorum. We try to keep our cool. But when you have an elected official that goes out and slanders people during the meeting, right? And I'm looking right at you, Commissioner Skaggs, so I hope you understand that. Your behavior is unacceptable. Not only as a commissioner, but as a human being. Period. And if we don't do something about it, if this board doesn't do something about it, we will do something about it. We will make sure you're recalled, or when your time is up, we'll make sure you never sit on this board again. If you want to play these games, we can play these games. Twitter seems to be your forum. So, find me on Twitter. We'll talk. God bless you all.
Thank you. Next up, we have Melissa Patier, and I'm sure I butchered that.
It's not the first time, won't be the last time.
Could you pronounce that for us?
Patty.
Oh, I almost said that too.
Super close. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Melissa Patty, and I've been a resident in Kent County for, well, my whole entire life. I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me here. It's great to be here. I was not able to be here at the last meeting. Injuries do that to you, but I did watch, and I was so impressed with how the board handled themselves with all the grievances that were there that were not necessarily each of your individual faults. But I, as a parent, have come in contact with other parents who are increasingly frustrated with all the mask mandates, and not just the mask mandates. It's about the mandates that are coming hereafter. It's about us not being taken seriously. We've looked to our schools for help. We've looked to you for help, and nobody seems to know how to let the voters know who to go to for help. You say it's out of your hands, and I get that, okay? Help us to find out who to go to. How do we get our voices heard? The purpose of this is to resolve these mandates. We have all lived, every single person in Kent County and in the world has lived with the reality of COVID for the last 18 months plus. This is not going away soon. How do we stop the insanity of this and just realize some of us are willing to take the risk of not wearing a mask? Or what about the numbers that are not consistent? We have not heard about the numbers that of people who have actually learned who have survived from COVID, who have gotten past that, and yes, there are long-term effects. We need to unite and get answers together. We want to see strong leaders. We want to support you. We want to cheer every single one of you from our homes, from our standpoints, from work. We need to help you fight and figure this out. And if you can't help us get to the next level. We want to follow you. We need strong leaders in this government. We want to be able to believe in the system of the government. Show us strong leaders and we will follow you. And we will be there fighting with you to help us be heard to stop mandates, period.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Marissa Valenzuela.
Marissa?
I think she's here.
Oh,
Yep.
come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Marissa Valenzuela. This is Annalie Valenzuela. She's 6. This is Italia Valenzuela. She's a U.S. citizen. And this is Ezra Valenzuela. He's also a U.S. citizen. They all have human rights, as do you and myself. Who is in charge of you? This is a verse from Proverbs. You simple people, use good judgment. You foolish people, show some understanding. Listen to me, for I have important things to tell you. Everything I say is right. This is wisdom speaking. For I speak the truth and detest every kind of deception. My advice is wholesome. There is nothing devious or crooked in it. My words are plain to anyone with understanding, clear to those with knowledge. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it. I, wisdom, live together with good judgment. I know where to discover knowledge and discernment. All who fear the Lord will hate evil. Therefore, I hate pride and arrogance, corruption and perverse speech. Common sense and success belong to me, wisdom. Insight and strength are mine. Because of me, kings, Adam London, who reign, he won't reign anymore. And rulers make decrees. Rulers lead with his help, God's help, wisdom's help. And nobles make righteous judgment. We're here to ask you guys to make righteous judgment today.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Thank you. Next, we have Tom from Kent County.
Morning.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Unless I get any cards, this is the last speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the commission.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I too was slandered on Twitter by Mr. Skaggs during the meeting. I was told that the study that I cited, the Dan-Mask study, which is the only peer-reviewed randomized control trial of masks versus COVID in the world. And I was told it was misconstrued. Well, I wonder, Mr. Skaggs, maybe during this meeting you can tell me what was misconstrued about it. Anyway, I'm going to give this board a chance to do something right. This is from, excuse me, the Muskegon County resolution to promote the general welfare. Whereas we elected officials have solemnly sworn an oath to support the Constitution of the United States of America, which is ordained and established to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. And whereas the people of Muskegon County, both being informed about the risks and benefits of any available medical treatment such as vaccines, as well as maintaining the sacred and inalienable right to make an autonomous choices about their own health care, are essential to securing both the general welfare and securing the blessings of liberty. And therefore, be it resolved, all Muskegon County messaging henceforth related to vaccines shall encourage the people to discuss the risks and benefits of any such treatment with their chosen healthcare provider. And be it further resolved, Muskegon County shall not question any person's claim or parent's claim on behalf of their children to exemption from wearing a face mask or any other similarly mandated activity. And be it further resolved, Muskegon County shall not require or mandate to any employee, prospective employee, or contractor any form of vaccine or similar medical treatment, verification, or medical test verification as a general condition of employment, and will not encourage employers located within Muskegon County to establish such mandates so to hinder
you.
medical autonomy.
Thank you, Tom.
you.
Any other cards today?
No other cards,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. We do need your name for our minutes.
Wayne, American citizen. I'll leave my information with your secretary because I've got some questions I want answered. I'm going to ask you in this public forum. I expect an answer from you guys before your next meeting. So it's all procedural, it's all policy. To the person answering my questions, what I really want to know is, first and foremost, to each of these three items, was this done unilaterally? If it was, who made the decision? Second of all, if it was not done unilaterally, where was the vote taken, and which members of this board voted in the affirmative or to the other? And thirdly, where were those votes taken, and when were those meetings held? Because I believe there were no open meetings to discuss any of the issues I'm about to speak of. Number one, the Pledge of Allegiance. At the last meeting, I'm ashamed of every single one of you on this board that not a single one of you thought to bring a flag to that meeting. You had over 500 members of this public at your meeting, and not a single one of you thought to bring a flag. We did it. What is wrong with you people? And the answer you gave me last week or 2 weeks ago was that you did the Pledge of Allegiance at this meeting? Yeah, you did, but you also adjourned this meeting at 9:30. We entered in a new meeting over there at DeVos Hall. That was a separate meeting. You did not do the Pledge of Allegiance. The public had to do that for you because you guys didn't have the guts to do it. What is wrong with you people? I want to know who made that decision. Was it done unilaterally? And if it was done by a decision by this board, who voted in which way? The second one, the 2-minute rule. This man mentioned it earlier. I have not been to a single board meeting out of the 20 I've been at in the last 6 months where they've limited people to 2 minutes. That is ridiculous. In what? For the purpose of time, for your time? These people got the time to come down here and speak to you, and you limit them to 2 minutes? Where is that rule written? Where is that policy? I want to see it. I want to know who decided it. Was it done unilaterally? Was it voted on by this board? If so, when and where, and how did you all vote on it? Those are the answers I'm asking for. No, the third one is this. You did a Hitleristic move on us at the last meeting.
Thank you.
You took us in by numbers, and then you separated us, man and woman,
Thank you.
mother and child, and you put us on opposite sides of the room. How Hitleristic of that?
Thank you for your
How Hitleristic is that of you
today.
guys?
Thank you.
Do you have any idea whatsoever what
Thank
you
you
were
for
doing
your
to the
comments
people?
today.
Do you understand the optics?
Thank you
I'm
for your
asking you,
comments.
Madam Chair, do you understand the optics of that?
Thank you for your
Who
comments.
made those decisions? That's another question of mine. Who made those decisions? And I want to know if
Sir,
it was done
thank you.
unilaterally,
Thank you.
or was it done by the members of this board, and how
Thank
did
you.
they vote?
Thank you.
I would expect those answers.
Thank you. Any other public comment today on county matters? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item 10, reports. Do we have any commissioner reports today? Official reports? Commissioner Wooden?
Thank you, Chair. I was unsure if this should be a miscellaneous or reports because it pertains to the KCCA board, but it also pertains to the comments asked about the $0. I just thought it would at least explain to the gentlewoman who came to speak today. The $0 have flown through Kent County. They are being dispensed. The agency that we have contracted with for the case management is United Way of West Michigan, similar to our current central intake process. And there certainly are a significant amount of that money that is still available and has not yet been dispensed. And if you would like to speak with more, I would be happy to connect you with our folks at KCCA to
Thank you.
determine new ways to distribute the funds.
Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Chair Bolter. Just wanted to make a note that between our meetings, Grand Valley Metro Council did meet. We passed our budget. We welcomed Al. Al has been on Grand Valley Metro Council before, but now is sitting with a new role as Kent County Administrator Controller on Grand Valley Metro Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner reports, official reports today? Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick note, because we have followed the saga of the litigation between the Lakeshore Regional Entity and the state over the course of now probably 18 months or longer. Just to report that our last information from the state is that they have understanding that they have an agreement with us, and we are in the process of papering it. So that saga is about to come to an end, and hopefully at the next meeting, I'll report positively to an agreement.
Maybe. Any other official reports today? All right, before we get on to miscellaneous, we do have the intention with our new administrator. We had a lot of miscommunication in the past of various meetings that he attended, and we needed to get some communication back to the board. So we're gonna add, at the next meeting, an administrator report out. Just a quick he attends a lot of meetings on the county's behalf, and I think it's helpful for us to know, what's going on with the various committees that he sits on. So with that, Al, do you have any quick comments?
Yeah, just one,
I
first,
guess
it's
we'll
an
add this in
honor and pleasure to
miscellaneous.
serve. Thank you, and I'm looking forward for my second stint with Kent County and working with each of you. Just wanted to make a quick comment that yesterday we posted answers to a number of questions that we've received. I think all the questions I heard today, with the exception of the last gentleman who, with the flag protocol, obviously when you adjourn a meeting, it isn't a brand-new meeting if you move it. It's a continuation of the same meeting. So I thought that might be helpful. But also, I think that, we did answer a number of the... So if you care to look at Access Kent, you will see, I think, a very thorough and comprehensive look at the function of Kent County in relation to the state. So,
We can
all right,
get,
please check the document. I think it'll answer most of your questions. Thank you.
any other miscellaneous today? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just having heard from so many in the community a couple weeks ago, again today, the frustrations around, who do we go to work through, issues like this public health order, and having, done a bunch of, research myself, in the last couple of weeks, I share the frustrations around, the lack of checks and balances in the process, and it's become clear to me that if I was the public health officer, I could decide that, obesity in Kent County is a clear threat to health, it clearly is, and then because of that, myself, I could, outlaw donuts and mandate kale, and I could do that with no checks or balances on my authority and for an unlimited period of time. And I think that's really the heart of the issue is, thankfully we haven't had to exercise these public health code laws in Michigan, up until the last year and a half. But now that we've seen the problems with them, I think we need to work to find solutions to those problems in state law and in state process in terms of these authorities so that there is appropriate emergency measures and in the longer term appropriate checks and balances. So thank you.
Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. I'll try to keep this brief. In my 41 years as an elected official, what I witnessed 2 weeks ago by one of my colleagues on how he treated the people that came here to speak to us, and not only that, but his Twitter feeds making fun of them for coming here. I have never seen anything like it, and I'm really surprised that no one in the Dem caucus has called out our minority vice chair. When we created that position, we created it when the margin between Republicans and Democrats narrowed. We thought we should have a leadership position representing that second party, also put someone else on one of the standing committees in a leadership forum. Now, when Phil Skaggs took that minority vice chair position, he's not just representing himself, he's representing all of us in the public. and his actions on that day are an embarrassment to this whole commission, not only. So to be clear to the public, I can't ask Commissioner Skaggs to resign his seat. That's an elected position. He can be recalled. He can be voted out of office next time. One thing I can do is ask Commissioner Skaggs to apologize for his actions. And if he doesn't apologize for those actions, as a board, we need to remove him as a minority vice chair and let the Democrats select someone that will be respectful of that office. Thank you.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I just wanted to say to the resident that inquired about housing, the vouchers, and affordable housing crisis, and the eviction moratoriums being lifted, that I am on the Kent County Community Action Committee, and we deal with that as well as Mr. Wooden and Mr. Steck with some of the things they do here concerning the CARES Act, and I look forward to getting with you to help you through that. I also would like to tell the public that no matter what side I am when it comes to the mask and unmasking and the support of Adam London, no matter what side I am on the issue, just being an elected official, understanding our Constitution for the people, by the people, I just want to let you know I respect everybody's voice, and I believe every last one of us should respect the public and your voice to come here, because without your input, we don't know what the people think, and we cannot represent the people if we do not have an open forum and make sure you feel comfortable to come here and speak to us no matter what side of the issues you are on. Thank you.
Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I also thanks folks for coming out. I have been on that side of the microphone many a time, speaking to apparently deaf ears on other issues. That being said, I have been listening to all folks who have been speaking both publicly and via email. My constituents, for whatever it's worth, are very much in support of the public mandate, are very in support of Dr. London, as I continue to be. As I said 2 weeks ago at the work session, I believe that he and his staff have been working tirelessly to protect all of our community health. And so I'm going to continue to say thank you for your opinions, and I continue to support Dr. London wholeheartedly. I'm not trying to hide behind state law, what's our power or not. I do believe he and his staff are doing a fantastic job, and they'll continue to have my personal as well as elected support. As opposed to donuts and kale, my wife has tried that, but straw men and other kinds of extreme things, that's not going to happen. It's so we'll leave it there.
Any other miscellaneous today? Commissioner Wooden.
I similarly want to echo my appreciation for Dr. London for this order, and I just note the number of ICU or patients who have been in the ICU, and we look at the other communities that didn't have these policies across this country, and how we were hearing stories of how in Dallas, not only Dallas County, but the 11 counties around Dallas, there was not a single ICU bed available for children at the beginning of the school year because they didn't have a mask requirement and kids were getting sick. And in the end, Madam, you were given your time for public comment. This is my time for miscellaneous, and I'm allowed that time.
Any other, are you?
And as a result, I just simply want to thank Dr. London for the life-saving decision he made, and I yield back the floor.
Any other miscellaneous today? Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I meant to mention this in my invocation, but I failed to, and I wanted to just note, first of all, I did want to thank the folks that came and made the time to speak today. I did want to note, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the 20th anniversary of September 11th this weekend, and hopefully we can think back to times when we found unity in great chaos and great disorder. It's my hope that we can find that again under equally divisive or catastrophic situations, but I hope that you'll take some time this weekend to remember those folks who perished and those who perished in the subsequent conflicts that have happened since. So I just wanted to say, I meant to say that in my invocation, but I failed to. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other miscellaneous today? Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank our new administrator, Al Vandenberg, for the very clear explanation of what our legal department and our extra-legal opinion has on the situation of the mask mandate. People have been confused as to what commissioners can do, as to what this board can do. Dr. London has a job that is not political, and that is in order to ensure that he protects the health of the entire county. I appreciate his work. I support him wholeheartedly. I am incredibly sorry that he has been the subject of threats and abuse, and I just thank him for everything he's put up in order to do the job that he does. And I really hope that we can continue our meetings with less feeling of threat and interruption, and that we can keep civility on all sides. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, I will call on Commissioner Green for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to adjourn, subject to the call of the chair, to Thursday, September 23rd, 2021 at 8:30 a.m.
Moved by Commissioner Green, support by Commissioner Sparks. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
I am Kent County. I am Kent County.
I am Kent County.
We are 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 Kent County.
Bayard, Kent County. Ami, Kent County.
Somos, Kent County.
Mas Ira, Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County. Oh yeah.